Before Google, before Facebook, even before Amazon, there was Cisco. Not the flashiest company, not the loudest either. But if the internet is the nervous system of modern civilization, Cisco quietly built the spine. And yet few know the story of how it began. Illegally. Not in some garage, but in a locked network closet at Stanford University. 2 employees, secretly dating, secretly coding, breaking university rules, stealing IP, and laying the first brick of what would become one of the most important tech companies of all time. It started with love and a locked door. In the early 1980s, Len Bosak managed computers in one Stanford department. Sandy Lerner did the same in another. The university forbade relationships between departments, but policy wasn't the only thing keeping them apart. Their computers, just like their jobs, weren't allowed to communicate either. So Len did what any brilliant, rebellious computer scientist in love might do. He built a device that let the machines talk. It was crude, it was unauthorized, and it worked. From that act of defiance came Cisco Systems, a company that would dominate the internet's plumbing, soar to a $500 billion valuation, crash with the dot-com bubble, and rise again as the unshakable backbone of digital infrastructure. This is not just a tech story, it's a story of obsession, betrayal, and corporate warfare. How a couple got kicked out of Stanford, how a pizza delivery guy became CEO, how Cisco came within inches of collapse and clawed its way back. I'm Mr. Stagg, and this is the story of Cisco, the quiet giant that built the internet and nearly lost it all. Chapter 1. Leonard Bosak, an engineer managing the computer science department's computers, has a problem. His girlfriend, Sandy Lerner, works in the business school on the other side of campus. Both of them are running early Apple computers, but their machines can't talk to each other. The networks are siloed. So Leonard starts building something, a multi-protocol router, a way to bridge those networks. In today's language, he was creating the backbone of the internet. This is the birth of Cisco, but Stanford didn't know it. Leonard and Sandy were dating in secret. Worse, what they were building. It was illegal under university policy. They were using Stanford-owned hardware and software. Leonard was tweaking code that technically belonged to the university. But the couple didn't stop. In fact, they doubled down. They took over a network closet working late into the night. Leonard soldered boards. Sandy pushed the vision. And together they created the first routers that could route traffic between completely different systems. At first it was just for Stanford. But soon, other universities wanted in. UCLA, MIT, Cornell. Demand exploded. That's when Sandy had the idea, let's sell this. In 1985, they incorporated the company, naming it Cisco Systems, with a lowercase c and a logo inspired by the Golden Gate Bridge. But Stanford found out. They were furious. Leonard and Sandy were forced to leave, but they took everything, the hardware, the designs, even the software code. And with that, Cisco went from university experiment to Silicon Valley startup. Chapter 2. Cisco wasn't built like most startups. There were no VCs initially, no startup incubator, no Steve Jobs giving rousing speeches, just Leonard, Sandy, and a belief that networks were going to rule the world. Sandy took the lead on operations. She was the business mind, the strategist. Leonard was the technologist. Together they built routers out of their living room, shipping parts themselves and handwriting manuals. Their first year, they made $272,000 in revenue, all from word of mouth. But they needed help scaling. That's when they met Don Valentine, the legendary founder of Sequoia Capital. Valentine wasn't convinced until Sandy showed him their raw numbers. The growth was undeniable. In 1987, Sequoia invested $2.5 million for a 30% stake, but with that investment came pressure, and eventually, control. Sequoia installed John Morgridge as CEO, a no-nonsense operator who helped take the company from scrappy to scalable. Morgridge brought in sales teams, customer support, and real logistics. By 1989, Cisco was generating over $27 million in revenue. But there was a problem. Sandy and Leonard didn't like giving up control. Sandy in particular clashed with the new board. The company was growing, but the culture was shifting. By 1990, the board had had enough. They forced both founders out. Leonard was heartbroken. Sandy left furious. Neither would ever return to Cisco. Chapter 3. In February 1990, just weeks after forcing out its founders, Cisco went public. It raised $224 million. valuing the company at just under $1 billion. It was one of the most successful IPOs of the era. But this was just the beginning. The 1990s saw the rise of the internet, and with every new server, every new business going online, you needed routers. And guess who dominated the market? Cisco. By the mid-1990s, Cisco controlled over 80% of the internet routing market. Its stock exploded. The company started acquiring aggressively, swallowing up over 70 companies in just a few years. Every acquisition added new tech, new engineers, new IP. But the real explosion came in 2000. During the peak of the dot-com bubble, Cisco briefly became the most valuable company on Earth, worth over $550 billion, more than GE, Microsoft, or Exxon at the time. Think about that. A company founded in a university closet had become the most powerful force in global communications. Chapter 4. But what goes up must come down. In March 2000, the dot-com bubble burst. Cisco's stock lost 86% of its value, and $400 billion in market cap vanished. The company went from hero to has-been almost overnight. Yet, unlike many others, Cisco survived. Why? Because its products were real. Its routers and switches still powered the internet. Its enterprise clients still depended on them. Under new leadership, especially CEO John Chambers, who took the helm in 1995, Cisco focused on long-term infrastructure, not hype. Throughout the 2000s, Cisco rebuilt. It pushed into VoIP, into enterprise security, into smart grids, and even video conferencing. It started powering not just the internet, but also Fortune 500 offices, hospitals, and data centers. By 2010, Cisco was back on top, not as flashy, but stable, powerful, and indispensable. In recent years, Cisco has doubled down on a transformation from hardware king to a software and services powerhouse. Under CEO Chuck Robbins, who took over in 2015, the company began a bold shift in its business model, away from one-time equipment sales and toward recurring revenue streams through subscription-based software, cybersecurity, and enterprise solutions. It wasn't just a pivot, it was a reinvention. Cisco poured billions into strategic acquisitions like AppDynamics for application performance monitoring, Duo Security for identity protection, and Thousand Eyes for internet visibility. But perhaps the most critical frontier has been artificial intelligence. As AI began reshaping how companies operate, Cisco didn't want to be left behind. It embedded AI into its security platforms to detect threats faster, used AI to optimize network traffic in real time, and began building AI-native infrastructure to support enterprise customers deploying large language models at scale. In 2023, Cisco announced its AI-native networking stack, positioning itself as a critical enabler of the next era of enterprise tech. With AI, security, and software converging, Cisco is quietly retooling its DNA. By 2024, nearly half of its revenue came from software and services, a staggering feat for a company once defined by physical routers and switches. And yet, the challenge remains. In a world moving faster than ever, can the original internet giant keep rewriting its own code? Today, Cisco brings in over $56 billion in annual revenue, employs over 80,000 people, and sits quietly behind the scenes of nearly every major online transaction. Chapter 5. Cisco's impact isn't just technological, it's foundational. Without Cisco, the modern internet, as we know it, wouldn't exist. They made networks interoperable. They made scaling possible. They turned academic curiosity into global infrastructure, and yet few outside of tech know their name. Sandy Lerner, after being forced out, bought a farm in Virginia and became a philanthropist and novelist. Leonard Bozak became a low-key investor in biotech and animal welfare. Neither got the public recognition they deserved, but their fingerprints are on everything from Wi-Fi to Zoom calls. John Chambers, the CEO who ran Cisco for 2 decades, left in 2015. He's now a startup mentor and investor, focusing on Indian tech companies and cybersecurity. And today, Cisco is entering the AI and quantum networking race. They're partnering with hyperscalers like Google and Microsoft to power next-gen infrastructure. So while the world focuses on flashy consumer apps, Cisco continues to build the pipes that let the digital world run. If you had invested just $1,000 in Cisco at its 1990 IPO, you'd have gotten 16,666 shares at 6 cents apiece. By the year 2000, those shares were worth over $1.3 million. Even today, through all the booms and busts, they'd still be worth over $800,000. That's the kind of legacy Cisco quietly built, while wiring the internet behind the scenes. Today, Cisco is leaning into AI networking, cybersecurity, and multi-cloud optimization. A substantial share of global internet traffic still flows through its infrastructure, and with its shift to software, AI-native platforms, and secure enterprise systems, Cisco is positioning itself for the next 30 years, quietly, reliably, and profitably. From a stolen university project to an over $200 billion behemoth, that's the untold story of Cisco. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this origin story, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Stag Research, your go-to channel for business deep dives and founder legacies. Got a hot take on Cisco's future? Drop it in the comments. Mr. Stag, logging off.